Hey everyone, welcome to another time-lapse sketching tutorial with pen, ink, watercolor, and Posca markers. This video is the condensed version of the full-length tutorial that I've made for my patrons. So if you want to check out that tutorial, which is about 50 minutes long, consider supporting me and my YouTube channel by supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the video description below. And patrons will also have access to the PDFs that I have created from the tutorials. Let's take a look at the reference photo, which is provided by my friend Alice from the Urban Sketches Singapore group. And this photo was provided as part of the SG Shop Front Challenge. And this is a two-story shop house here in Singapore. It seems like it's a beautiful day with good light and shadow. The sun is coming from this direction, so we can see some cast shadows. And this building, this architecture is quite detailed, so that's why I have my mechanical pencil here, because I'll be creating some drafting lines for composition before I ink it. These are the tools I'll be using today. This is a Roman Szmal's watercolor box set, a mechanical pencil, a watercolor sketchbook from Vivacolor. The paper quality is actually not that great. The Duke 551 fountain pen and Sailor KiwaGuro fountain pen ink. This is a fountain pen I have not used for a very long time, and this is a fountain pen with possibly the largest fude nib that I know of. A fude nib, in case you don't know, is actually a bent nib, and because the ink flow for this pen is not good, I'll be using this pen as a dip pen, and thankfully there is this extra piece of metal on top which will help to hold more ink. I have reviewed this pen many years ago, so if you want to check out that review, the link is in the video description below. This is the Sailor KiwaGuro fountain pen ink. This ink is pigmented, waterproof when dry, and this ink is great for use with dip pens because the bottle is short and the bottle opening is wide, and there is this design where there is a little floating cup inside, which if you turn the bottle upside down and you turn it back up, ink will get into that little floating cup and you can reach the ink very easily. So how do you know if a certain pigmented ink is safe for use in a fountain pen? I will look out for crusty physical ink particles around the bottle opening, and if I see those particles, it means that ink is not safe for use in a fountain pen. I'm quite excited to use this pen because I have not used this pen for such a long time. So this is the very nice thing about this ink bottle. Because there is a little cap there, you don't have to dip the pen all the way in, so the ink will not get onto the grip area, which means you don't have to clean the grip area. I've already drawn the drafting lines with pencil to make sure the front of the shop house does not fall into the gutter. So the nice thing about this pen is you can create line variation without having to consciously make effort to create those thin and thick lines. You can just hold the pen as per normal and just draw, and those thin and thick lines will come out automatically. So for this sketch, I tried to create as much variation as possible. I have thin and thick lines, I have solid lines versus the rough lines, I have the occasional ink blobs. I have also left out certain details such as the windows because I want to paint those windows with watercolor and draw with white gel pen instead of drawing those window frames with ink. So this sketch was actually drawn quite quickly so that I can get that very loose and sketchy look. Now if you notice the reference photo, the horizon line is actually much higher, but in my sketch I have actually subconsciously made the horizon line lower to give this sketch the feel, the look and feel of this being sketched on location. For scenes that have lots of detail, I would start the sketch with pencils. If I feel like the scene is kind of straightforward or the perspective is kind of straightforward, I may just draw with pen straight away. Now, it is very important to make sure that your perspective is accurate at the start of the sketch, because if your perspective is not accurate, then all the details that you draw later on will be affected by the inaccurate perspective and your sketch is going to look off. So for this sketch, I drew the structure, the building first, the perspective first, before I draw the details such as the windows. You may notice as I painted the sky earlier, the ink wasn't completely dry. Yep, that's because for the ink blobs, they take much longer to dry. So if you want to make sure there are no surprises, make sure the ink is completely dry before you paint over the lines. The color that I'm using is French Ultramarine. The blue, as you can see, is not exactly similar as the building. You don't have to use or mix the same color, the exact same color. You can just mix whatever color you feel like mixing. So this is the first wash, painting the sky and the building, followed by adding the plants. For the plants, I used yellow first and then added blue to create the green, because I want the plants to have the yellow green. Now for the windows, I use ultramarine with burnt sienna. And to make the windows darker, you may have to paint over the windows a second time, because watercolor will dry lighter. So if your initial wash is not dark enough, you may have to paint over a second time. The paper in this sketchbook is actually not that great. The quality is not good enough for multiple washes. So as I paint over subsequent layers, you can see the colors dull down very quickly. Even when I painted the first layer of wash, the colors also look kind of muted. So using high quality watercolor paper can make your painting process, your learning process so much easier, because good quality watercolor paper will make your colors look more vibrant, and also watercolor can flow more easily and blend more easily on high quality watercolor paper. For lousy paper, they are just good for quick pen and ink sketches. They're not that suitable for full-fledged painting. So here I'm adding the white lines with white gel pen. This is a Sakura GellyRoll with a width of 1.0. And when drawing the window frames, note that one side of the window frame is actually blocked by the wall, so don't draw all the sides. And for the thicker lines, I'm using the white Posca markers, basically to add back all the highlights or the white that I should have preserved earlier, because I'm quite careless at preserving the white of the paper. So usually I will use the Posca marker to do the rescue work, and the Posca markers are magical at rescuing sketches that seem lost. As mentioned earlier, I did not like the color of the shadow because it looks quite dead to me, but having those dull colors can actually make your more vibrant colors pop more easily. So I guess this sketch is not a total disaster. You know, sometimes when you're painting halfway, you are not sure how your sketch is going to turn out. You have a feeling that your sketch is going to, you know, look bad, but as you continue to paint, as you actually complete the sketch, you will be surprised at how the sketch actually turns out for the better in this case. Yeah. So I use black to add more details. The black from the Posca marker is not the same black that you can mix from watercolor. So if you use the black from the Posca marker, or if you use Posca markers, use them very sparingly, because the colors from Posca markers are just too vibrant, too pure as compared to mixed watercolor colors. So this is the completed sketch with the colors I used listed by the side. Due to the limitation of the photo, I wasn't able to fill the 2 pages completely, so I used the blank space on the right side to write down the names of the colors that I have used. Alright, if you guys want to check out more drawing tutorials, I have many free tutorials on my YouTube playlist, which is linked in the video description below. And if you want to learn sketching with more information, with step-by-step instructions, consider supporting me and my YouTube channel on Patreon. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye!